Noe Dong. 3 years prior, the accident resulted in the loss of my legs, my independence, and nearly my will to live. However, it also unexpectedly provided me with something valuable. To begin with, I would like to express my gratitude to my esteemed subscribers. Your support enables the exploration of narratives that penetrate the most profound and complex aspects of existence. This process is complex. Please follow along carefully. The physician indicated that I was fortunate. It is fortunate that the truck did not fully impact me. It is fortunate that my spinal cord remained intact. It is fortunate that my son Lucas was not present in the vehicle with me during that night. Lucky, they stated, an ironic term for a woman who is unable to walk more than 10 steps without experiencing significant discomfort in her legs. The residents in Ohio previously felt excessively spacious during the hours when Liukas attended school. The current dimensions appear insufficient. He is consistently present, preparing meals, repositioning my pillows, and assisting me into the shower when my muscles fail. The experience of having a child at 16 brings unexpected challenges and responsibilities that are often not discussed. At a certain point in time, they reach maturity. At 19 years of age, Lucas has maintained his tall stature and is currently employed in public construction, resulting in the development of rough hands. The individual possesses a deep voice and strikingly godlike eyes, reminiscent of his father's, who departed as soon as the pregnancy test indicated a positive result. Liukas stands in the doorway, holding a bowl of soup, and calls out, "Mom!" Lunch was not consumed. I did not experience hunger. You are never. The bowl is placed on the nightstand, accompanied by a frown. Your legs experienced a failure in support once more today. I do not provide a response. He possesses an inherent understanding. He consistently demonstrates awareness, often without the need for inquiry. He positions himself at the edge of the bed and adjusts my sweatpants accordingly. The scars cause a momentary pause in my breathing. The appearance is unappealing. Distorted skin and irregular lines resulting from the surgical procedures. Lucas's fingers remain poised in suspension. Is it permissible for me to do so? I acknowledge with a nod. The initial contact is precise, manipulating the taut muscles surrounding the knee joint. However, his thumb locates a knot adjacent to my inner thigh, prompting me to bite my lip. She observes your tension and states, "You have no idea." Her hands elevate, insufficient to be deemed inappropriate, yet sufficient to elevate my heart rate. The sensation is merely the warmth of her skin, I remind myself. The alleviation of discomfort diminishes. However, upon her fingers making contact with the edge of my shorts, my respiration ceases. Mara also comes to a stop. For a brief interval, there is no movement from either party. Subsequently, she clears her throat and proceeds to lower my pants. It is advisable to refrain from that action. Thank you for your understanding. She exhibits a moment of hesitation, suggesting a desire to elaborate further. She takes the bowl of soup and exits. I observe the ceiling, recalling the moments when her touch nearly exceeded boundaries, and for the first time in years, I experience an emotion beyond pain, a potentially hazardous situation. The second instance of contact indicated that the interaction had transcended the initial focus on my legs. The morning light penetrated the fabric of the curtains. The brightness and cheerfulness are incongruent with the turmoil in my mind. I had not slept. Each instance of closing my eyes resulted in the sensation of Mara's hands upon me. Consistent, devoid of emotion, enduring. I reassured myself that it was inconsequential. A son providing assistance to his mother, a caregiver alleviating discomfort. However, the sensation of my skin reacting to her touch was not characterized by pain. The sound of Mara's door creaking at the end of the hall reoriented my focus to the present moment. The blanket was promptly adjusted over the bed, reflecting an internal dialogue that remained unseen. Footsteps approached, followed by the presence of her shadow in the doorway. "You rose early," she stated, her voice raspy from sleep. She was not wearing a shirt, and her sweatpants were positioned low on her hips. A curved tattoo adorned her ribs, a design she had chosen to get last year without consulting me. I diverted my gaze. I was unable to achieve sleep. "Lex, once more." "No, you," I acknowledged with a nod. Mara entered with a sigh and took a seat next to me, mirroring her actions from the previous night. Without inquiring, she retracted the blanket and positioned her hands on my exposed calf. I experienced a shudder. "Apologies," she stated softly. "Hands are cold." The source of my tension was not the temperature. Rather, it stemmed from the deliberate and measured pressure of her fingers against my skin, as though she were committing my form to memory. "You exhibit tension throughout," she stated softly. "I experienced a significant difficulty in swallowing last night. While it may have been possible to feign an accident, the clarity of daylight revealed the absence of any evidence. Disregarding the motion of her thumb as it traced upward in circular patterns, and the way her palm glided along the posterior aspect of my thigh. Please take a moment to relax." Her voice exhibited a depth greater than what is typically observed. "You are resisting it." I did not resist the massage. I was engaged in a struggle against this, the response of my body to it. The moment my breath was interrupted as her fingers made contact with the edge of my shorts, the contraction of my stomach occurred upon observing her gaze directed towards me. Not in the manner of a son observing his mother, but rather in the way a man regards a woman. A knock at the front door interrupted the moment, causing Lucas to startle and pull back suddenly. "Did you anticipate the arrival of an individual?" He remained stationary, the muscles in his body contracted and elongated during the stretching process. "I will retrieve it," I stated, my voice quivering. The area of my skin remained sensitive in response to his contact. Audible sounds were detected emanating from the living room. Mr. Thompson, our inquisitive neighbor, inquired whether we required any items from the store. David's courteous decline. The door was closed upon his return. The expression on his face was ambiguous and difficult to interpret. "Is there a possibility that he has suspicions?" Clara inquired. The functioning of my heart ceased. "What are the suspects?" She exhibited a self-satisfied smile. The casserole dish was never returned. It was brought by her last month. I produced a laugh, yet my hands exhibited tremors as I briefly considered that she was referring to us. During that night, the rain impacted the windows with significant force. The storm resulted in a significant loss of power, causing the house to enter a state of darkness. Candles were ignited, producing a flickering illumination that cast shadows across his face. He occupied a position adjacent to me on the couch, within proximity sufficient to perceive the warmth emanating from him. "Are you experiencing a sensation of cold?" he inquired. "Negative, falsehood." He provided coverage with a blanket. Our legs made contact beneath it. Neither of us made any movement. The wind was present outside. A tree branch made contact with the roof, producing a sound reminiscent of nails scraping against the surface. Subsequently, his hand made contact with mine. The action was deliberate and intentional, not a mere coincidence or a fleeting contact. His fingers interlaced with mine, exhibiting a rugged and confident grip. I should have disengaged. I did not. The illumination provided by the candle. His eyes appeared to be black in color, a cautionary statement, an inquiry, a request. The restoration of electricity occurred abruptly, resulting in the illumination of the room. We separated abruptly, as though scorched, yet the connection between us remained intact. A kiss. This singular action was sufficient to dismantle our previous selves and reconstruct us into an unexpected form. The blackout resulted in significant changes for a duration of 3 days following that night on the couch. David and I navigated our proximity as if we were unfamiliar individuals. He exhibited a polite demeanor, approached with caution, and displayed signs of hunger. I noticed him observing my mouth as I spoke. His hands remained in contact as he assisted me in standing up. On one occasion, I turned abruptly and observed him inhaling the fragrance of my hair that had come into contact with his shoulder. We were an ignited fuse. The explosion occurred on a Tuesday. Lucas had recently returned from his place of employment. With the scent of perspiration and the warmth of summer enveloping him, he removed his boots. The white t-shirt adhered to his chest due to perspiration. "Are you okay?" he inquired, acknowledging my rigid posture on the couch with a nod. "The sensation is painful." I compelled a smile, a prolonged duration devoid of communication. He approached and elevated my legs. He positioned them in his lap. I inhaled sharply as his fingers pressed into my calf. "You are exerting excessive effort," he stated softly. The individual constructed our porch ramp solely after the insurance declined to provide coverage for it. The individual who transported me to my room each night due to its location on the second floor. Pressure was applied to a knot located near my knee, resulting in an involuntary stifling of a moan. The quality of his voice exhibited a rough texture. "Allow me to manage your needs." This did not constitute care. This represented a strong inclination. The tension in his jaw was evident as my skirt shifted upward. The sensation was evident in the subtle tremor of his fingers as they ascended, ultimately making contact with my thigh. I secured his wrist. We became immobile. The pulse was strong and rhythmic against my fingers. "Please instruct me to cease." A task requiring effort and skill. A request for assistance. I ought to have expressed it. It would have been advisable to distance myself from the situation, seek professional help, and disregard the occurrence entirely. However, I did not. I was unable to do so. I released my grip on his wrist. His kiss lacked gentleness. The experience was characterized by intense heat, a display of teeth, and a culmination of 19 years of repressed desire. His hands tightened in my hair as he pulled me closer to him. The contact of our mouths occurred with an intensity that suggested it was our sole method of respiration. I inhaled sharply in response to him. My fingers applied pressure to his shoulders. "We are unable to proceed." "We are already in that state." He applied gentle pressure to my lower lip, resulting in a sudden sensation that radiated through my body. "You experience it. That is us." I experienced it profoundly. The significant force exerted by him against my hip. The manner in which my body curved toward him resembled a flower orienting itself toward the sun. This is incorrect. Inaccurate assessment. However, when his tongue made contact with mine, my thoughts were solely focused on the desire for additional interaction. The transition to the bedroom was not achieved. Leucus restrained me on the couch. The subject's hips descended as I made contact with his shirt through scratching motions. The fabric exhibited a tear at the collar. However, it did not concern either party involved. "Direct your attention to me," he stated in a low tone. Upon observation, the sight was profoundly disheartening. This was not merely desire reflected in his gaze. The experience was characterized by affection, the type that results in fractures, the type that results in lasting marks. Subsequently, while we remained intertwined in quietude, the awareness of reality gradually emerged. Leucus outlined circular patterns on my exposed shoulder. "Is your condition satisfactory?" "Negative," "affirmative." He was aware that I was not being truthful. He was aware that I held no regrets regarding the matter. Upon resuming conversation, his voice was so subdued that it was hardly perceptible. "I have desired your presence since the age of 15. My stomach contracted due to the fact that it was. Alternatively, it indicated that it was not an accident. The occurrence was unavoidable. Certain instances of silence convey more meaning than verbal communication. The morning light was excessively bright, excessively severe. I awoke prior to Lucas. The burden of our actions felt tangible, as if it were a physical weight bearing down on me. The sheets retained his scent, comprising elements of perspiration, wood particles, and a distinctly masculine essence. My son, my partner deity, what actions had we undertaken? He located me in the kitchen, observing the coffee maker with a vacant expression. "Greetings," he uttered, his voice hoarse from slumber. I was unable to make eye contact with him. The emotional expression in his eyes was difficult for me to endure, the presence of tenderness that was not intended. "Mother." A hand placed on my shoulder. Temperature is elevated, well known, unsatisfactory. I disregarded the discomfort that appeared on his face, a wound more profound than any blade. We engaged in a day-long interaction, maintaining a relative distance akin to that of celestial bodies in orbit. He is attempting to gain my attention. His fingers made contact with mine. Each occurrence that affected me, withdrawal in progress, constructing barriers with each instance of silence. "Thank you. Kindly pass the salt." For the evening meal, the atmosphere was dense to the point of being stifling. "You are imposing a penalty on me," he stated at last, moving his plate aside. "I am safeguarding myself against this situation." The pitch of my voice fluctuated unexpectedly, from the perspective of how individuals might perceive us if they were aware, from the detrimental effects of shame that could overwhelm us if this situation persists. His jaw exhibited increased tension. "I do not experience shame. You will be tonight." The sound of him pacing within his room was audible. The floorboards exhibited audible creaking sounds in response to his weight with each step taken, vibrating through the narrow barriers. Subsequently, there was silence. The door engaged and opened with an audible click. The bed was illuminated by the soft glow of moonlight as he remained standing nearby. Without a shirt, his chest exhibited rapid oscillations in its rise and fall. "I am unable to feign," he articulated in a hoarse voice. "Not in conjunction with you." My determination weakened due to my inability to do so as well. Silence prevailed as he traversed the room. It was unnecessary for us to do so. Each interaction, each appearance, each uneven inhalation conveyed meaning beyond verbal expression. I was unable to do so. This represented our failure, and we engaged fully without hesitation. 1 year later, discussions among the neighbors continue regarding the proximity of our relationship. According to Mrs. Calloway, he is a devoted son as observed during her visit to the supermarket, consistently providing excellent care for his mother. I adjust the new wedding ring on my left hand, maintaining a polite smile, an accessory that raises no inquiries. It is a common assumption that single mothers do not remarry. Mara's fingers interlace with mine as we proceed to the vehicle. No one pays additional attention. The information is currently unknown. This is the preferred state we aim to maintain.